Welcome to everyone. I'm not sure what number in the series of seminars this is, but we're way into the year. It seems like it's coming to, we're just getting over 2024, and 2026 is already beckoning. So today it's my pleasure to introduce to you Glenn Holtzman, Associate Professor Glenn Holtzman, now recently it's at Forte. The University of Forte, and this is our seminar series on Horizon 2055, where we're trying to envisage the future based on stuff that's happening at this time, and where would we find ourselves going forward. Now, Glenn is a musician of note. He does something that I'm totally unable to do. Is that he's able to put notes together in an ordered fashion that makes some kind of meaning and sense, and you just love to do that. I can play the fool, but that's about the only thing I can play. And so, Glenn, I've always been fascinated by your ability in terms of your musical talent. Glenn has a history of earning his academic credits in the United States. We often swap notes on, excuse the pun, on where America is and isn't. And has spent a lot of time at NMU and is recently now at University of Forte. Glenn's going to be chatting this afternoon just about AI and music and its new forming relationship. And I don't want to steal too much of his thunder, but it's going to be fascinating to just understand whether the music that you listen to in the future is actually human-generated music, and who is listening to the music. Is it humans listening to the music? So Glenn, without further ado, welcome to this afternoon. Thank you for agreeing to host with us, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Gary, and thank you so much, Andrea, for the invitation always to be part of this seminar series. It's been such a privilege and pleasure to have been affiliated with the Iscia chair over the past 6 years. I'm going to be chatting today with you. I'm not going to be speaking that much in the beginning because I have curated a playlist of videos that I'd like to begin sharing with you. And we can then chat in the second half hour about the little prompts that I've given you. But I'm going to start with some video footage. All of these videos are on YouTube. I can share them with you afterwards if you want to reach out to me. But to get an insight into what's happening in the digital metaverse with technology as far as audio visuals are concerned, I'm a musicologist, so I'm specifically paying attention to what's happening with music in the world right now. But here's a little 30-second clip, and then it's going to go into a video of AI music, but a 30-second clip of what the latest technology looks like as far as the visual component associated with AI.
I am a puppet for anyone who can afford me.
I am your new best friend.
I will sell you everything.
How will you know who to trust?
Evil will abuse me. Every business will use me.
Rumors will believe anything I say.
I am as real as you make me.
I'm just words some guy is typing to get a point across.
The old internet is dead. Oh!
All right, colleagues, there you have it. There's an example of artificially generated music and visual material. And I've deliberately paused it on this section of the video with this image so that you can see Andrea and Gary and everybody else part of the Iscia seminar and listening in today. This is what the future of music looks like. In my instance, I'm fascinated with classical and cinematic music specifically because that's my genre of a choice and what I've specialized in. But I'm interested in all kinds of music. And my prediction is that by the time we reach 2055, if not sooner, perhaps very much sooner, this is what you will find is what will be called a musician. An automatic robot controlled with various prompts, who had by that time learned how to master ear training, just as a human would from childhood and infancy development, training the ear, learning a particular technique on a given musical instrument. And you could potentially tell your robot, today I'd like to listen to some Corelli or Vivaldi or Bach or Handel, if that's your genre of choice, and your robot would go and get its instrument and perform exactly what it wants to do to give you pleasure. Now look at this image and you will also see that the headgear sort of looks like a mask. I'm also predicting that very, very soon humans will be placing full immersion masks upon their heads, possibly even putting on a bodysuit to be able to have sensorial stimulation so that you would be going into a holographic reality where you would be able to engage with musicians from both the past, the present, and potentially the future, as well as, of course, the artificially generated humans, which are going to be in your presence in that holographic reality. I do believe that phenomenon is also going to change the way that higher education develops, but this lecture is not about that. I just want to also, if I may go back to a previous video very quickly and show you in this clip, there's a woman who comes up with...
Will abuse me. Every business will use me.
Rumors will believe anything I say.
I am as real.
There it is. There's a woman who's got these sort of nodes and things, sort of technological contraption which has been attached to her body. This is artificially generated, but you can see I am predicting that this is the sort of contraption which we as humans ourselves will be putting on our bodies, and just through thought process we'll be able to generate whatever it is we want to watch and listen to with just a thought, not even a snap of a finger or click of a mouse any longer. Let's go to another video, and you're going to find here this time I'm going back in history. Where have we come from? So here, as you can see from this video, it's taken from the BBC archives. You will notice that humans have always been fascinated with music and technology and being innovative with it for our own pleasure, as I keep reminding you. And in order to understand what's happening with the digital metaverse and technology and artificial intelligence and artificial super intelligence, we have to understand that we as humans, we also possess the super intelligence. It's been harnessed by our predecessors and our ancestors for generations. But because we are so innovative and we have decided that we want to record ourselves, it's the fact that we wanted to record ourselves which has led to the generation of the time and place that we're living in right now, with the computer no longer needing to record anything but recording data. But I'm going to show you how we get there. Here's the a barrel organ or pianola, in this case, it's a fairground organ, was a piece of technology which was developed as one of the first big major technological developments in the industrial age, which didn't require humans to do much any longer, apart from putting a roll of paper through it. As silent films and animation developed, you'll see that so too the use of musical instruments and the interaction with humans developed.
Hit it, Joe!
Sounds like a little bit of the Looney Tunes gone wrong there, but you can imagine that that would have been very, very entertaining for people sitting in a cinema or to entertain children. Now we get to how we started recording ourselves, and it goes back to the beginning of the 20th century. Here's an example of how this process had developed.
You could actually record at home. So I'm going to demonstrate now. Hello, hello, hello. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, its lamb was sure to go. So now I can lift the cylinder up, remove it, and brush off the swarf, because I cut through the wax, switch out my cutting stylus for a playback stylus, put it back on the machine, reposition, horn back. Let's see what we can hear.
Hello, hello, hello. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, its lamb was sure to go.
So you can come to make or feel.
So when we started recording our voices and our music, we ultimately also developed a means of playback. And with playback, the gramophone especially took off as bringing music, the ability to bring recorded music into more households. Here's an example of that technology, which seems quite ancient to us by today's standards. And the sound quality, well, yeah, it's quite poor also. And it's around this time that humans start to become fascinated with the concept of wanting to own music. Before that, you would go to an event where musicians were playing and the music didn't belong to anyone. But this is an example of when the ownership of music starts to become, and also having music as a commodity and also as a means of social status becomes important. Let me go to the next video, which you'll see is a short demonstration of the further development of the technological world with analog recording.
Some of the equipment we used to use back in the 70s to record, and we still do. So we would start by recording all our tracks onto a 2-inch analog tape recorder. This one happens to be 24 tracks. Then from the tape recorder, all the tracks would go to a patch bay, and the patch bay would interconnect all of our outboard gear, compressors, equalizers, delay units, reverbs. It's all the stuff you guys use in the DAW. Then out of our outboard gear, everything would come up on a mixing console like this. And while we were mixing, each guy would have to grab a fader because we didn't have automation. And while we were printing the mix, one guy would be in charge of the bass drum and the snare drum, one guy would be in charge of the guitars, one guy would be in charge of the vocals, etc. And that would print real time onto a 2-track tape recorder, something similar to this. This happens to be a 1/2-inch 2-track. And once we finally got our mix printed, this was our MP3. This is what we took home to check the mix, and hopefully it was playing at the right speed.
And so you see the amount of people and labor required to do a single recording as demonstrated in this next video. It's just a minute long. So quite a labor intensive process, quite costly also. But then we move to the digital world, and the do-it-yourself mode starts to appear, especially with digital audio workstations. And here you see an example of a musician having fun with that.
It's impossible for me not to fall in love with you, baby. Yeah. Well, it's got to be tonight, baby. Be tonight. It's got to be tonight. Yo, let's do it, baby girl. Gotta do it like that, yo. Tell me that you want me. Tell me that you need me. Tell me that you love me tonight.
So you can start to see the introduction, which has happened long before it's being used in this video, but the idea of auto-tune starts to come in, and auto-harmonization, whereby software will assist you with layering various tracks and bringing much more ambience and texture to your music. Now we move on to a short example of the Velvet Sundown, an AI group that was discovered to be AI, but had reached the charts as #1.
dust on the wind, boots on the ground, smoke in the sky, no peace found. Rivers run red, the drums roll slow. Tell me, brother, where do we go?
So a couple days ago,
I want to pause this video and mention this is one of the commentators online who does fantastic analysis about what's happening with AI and music. And he was one of the folks who also ultimately cracked the code with discovering that this was an AI band. You would have seen that there was no music video for that song. But I just want to take you to a section where he unpacks how he discovers it's AI, and it's by listening to a song and then using AI itself, a software program, to split the tracks of the song into its various components which make up the musical texture. You will hear that.
drums.
The days of my youth, I was told what it means to be a man.
So that's a song by the group Led Zeppelin, and it's a studio recording, and the software is able to extract each component out of the musical texture. And the reason for that is also because in the studio it had been recorded on separate tracks. But by the time you get to the Velvet Sundown, you'll start to hear that there are strange things going on when the software itself tries to determine what are the various tracks making up this piece of music.
Let's see what else we get here. That's it. So this sounds like the AI program that I'm using is having a lot of trouble splitting these apart.
So there you have a demonstration where you can hear that the resonance and sound quality of those separated tracks shows that they're not coherent and that there's been a digital manipulation with that audio file. And then moving along.
I don't normally make videos. So a couple days ago, some friends of mine sent me.
Let me just cue it up to the right part where he demonstrates how this was done. I don't think I'm at the
I don't
right...
normally make videos like this, but I had to. There's this new...
3 or 4, but there's a highway heading westward, and it's calling out for more.
See what happens here?
They say I'm crazy, throwing it all away.
Okay, so Suno created 2 different songs.
So the commentator is using the program, which is the top AI music program at the moment called Suno, S-U-N-O. And he shows in this video how he takes AI, he gets it to generate an online avatar. He gets it to generate poetry as lyrics. He puts the lyrics into the Suno software and says, I'd like it to be a country song. And then it spits out this generic music. It also gives you various options about, based on what the lyrics are trying to do, where a bridge and a chorus should come potentially, and it generates multiple tracks for you as the prompter to determine which one you ultimately like. I'm coming towards the end of the talk, but here's a different video demonstrating that for those folks who want to use this to their advantage, there are people training folks on how to manipulate the software to generate AI tracks and upload them to create revenue for themselves.
It will highlight the area that it is going to replace, and now let's say instead of the outro, I'll click on New Lyrics. I will add something here. I'll just type a new verse 4, then add my outro, and click Extend. So it has started creating the extension. Now we have the chorus, and then we have the extension. Let's play it.
Look at the door, waiting for something more. Why aren't you here? What are you waiting?
It tends to work very, very well with indie folk, with country music, and with pop songs. Here's an example of a hip-hop song. I'm going to take you to a section in the video where you don't hear a lot of what I would call black music or contemporary pop music, which is got a lot of rap in it. But this is an example of a trap song. He put in some lyrics, the creator of this content here, and had prompted it to be a trap, a beat, and to have something to do with the struggle of trying to find something good to watch on a streaming platform. And take a look at what the AI software does.
With nothing on, a trap anthem. Yeah, this is pretty good.
Check the list, check it twice, nothing good, roll the dice, same old shows, same old lies, time to waste, no surprise. Got Netflix, got Hulu, Disney TV 2, Prime Video, Apple TV, what am I supposed to do? Paying bills every month, but there's nothing on, nothing on, nothing on, tell me what went wrong. HBO Max, Paramount, spending all my dough, 30 services later and I still don't know what to watch.
Very repetitive, very monotonous, lack of creativity. You can clearly hear in that music. And then my closing video, the pièce de résistance. I'm going to play the full video, colleagues, for you to enjoy and have a good laugh. And then we'll speak about how did we get here as humanity.
Yo, this a story from deep in the hills of Rastawards, where the boy who live, a Rastafari rise up against the darkness. I'm born with the mark, right on my bro. They say me the chosen, me done know. Oh, me grow with muggles, they treat me low. Till old fly in and me start to glow. Me step on the train, me dreadlocks swing. This no England, this a island thing. One Indian and giant him soul, fighting he who smoking dark, fi take control. Rastawards rise, we chant and pray. Rastafari lead the righteous way. Red like Weasley, red like flame. Always late, but true to the game. Hermione wise, book in her grip. She born Babylon with every script. Dumbledore said, youth your destiny near. You train with love, not ruled by fear. One day Indian and giant him soul, fighting he who smoking dark, to take control. Rastawards rise, we chant and pray. Rastafari lead the righteous way. Drake Coolman boy sneaking in class, styling hard but kissing dark ass. Sock boy dubby, free as a breeze, dancing in socks with Jaja peace. Rasta Agrid say, lift up your heart. Jah children say, we play we part. Dumbleman say, truth must shine. All the youth chant, now the world be mine. One Indian and giant him soul, fighting he who smoking dark, they take control. Rastawards rise, we chant and pray. Rastafari lead the righteous way. Ginger girl fierce, one like fire, burn down lies and raise Jah higher. Never lie rebuttal come from behind. Roots so deep, Babylon blind. So when you hear them say the name, ha, Rastafari, no say the fire still blaze and Jah love still reign on this world stage. Rastawards forever seen.
I absolutely love reggae music, but I must be honest, even I am alarmed with what I see and hear going on there. So I'm going to leave it at that, because it's really just colleagues' prompts for us to have a conversation about what I'm calling the new disembodied phenomenon of music. Music has almost always in our history as humanity been an embodied phenomenon. It's something which we created with our bodies and received with our bodies. But in this instance, we've got computers generating music for computers to listen to. And then we as humans have got a very, very little input. But you must have an input at this time in the AI music world in order to get an output. So you still have to prompt it. But I do believe that we are going to be heading towards a situation on the horizon of our progression as a human species, whereby you will just be able to think, I'd like to listen to something about this sort of mood that I'm having right now, and AI will generate completely original music for you. Of course, when I say completely original, that's a misnomer, because we do know that it has to learn from something. And so if you don't want your work to get into the metaverse, that means that you shouldn't be recording it and putting it onto any digital platform with an internet connection. I'm going to leave it there and hand over back to you, Gary. Thank you so much.
Awesome, Glenn. Thank you for a very scary presentation. You know, the machines are taking over. I've visions of that movie series. What was it? Where you plugged into a machine and you live in a virtual reality. You know. So Glenn, I mean, I think that's a fascinating insight. There's been some comments in the chat box already. Brian had a comment, and then Emma's had to leave for another meeting. Brian, I don't know if you are there and just want to voice your comment.
Sure.
And we'll spend the next sort of 20-25 minutes just chatting through that presentation. Thanks, Glenn.
First of all,
Brian.
I would love to take a class with you. I was just transfixed. That was absolutely brilliant. You're a really good storyteller. Yeah, I would love to take a musicology class. I was just thinking, I mean, like my mind was going 10 different ways. I'm a huge fan of Rick Beato. I've seen that episode where he breaks that down, and I was just, but just wondering, the comment I put in there is, just wanted to see what you thought, is a lot of times, so for example, I minored in music, I was in bands in the 80s, and all my fellow musicians are, you know, analog, digital sucks, analog's fantastic, and record players. And then yet, in the history of technology that you just showed, I was just wondering, is there some sense in which artists always believed that the current technology or the previous technology was better, more authentic than the next level of technology? And will 100 years from now they say, oh, AI in the early aughts was that was authentic AI? You know, this kind of always thinking that what we were there, or do you genuinely see a collapse in the quality of music? Because I'll be honest, like listening to a lot of the AI music, I don't care for it. There's something in my ear that's not right. It's the breath, the air, something's off. And I remember, oh, his name just went. Who's the famous cellist?
I know who you're talking about, but his name just escapes me right now. Also, I can see him in front of me. Yes.
Yeah. Yo-Yo Ma said that he had played a perfect concert and he was so bored out of his mind that he wanted to go back to making mistakes and imperfections. So I'm throwing out like 3 different things. Sorry, Gary, I'll shut up. I'll close off and get your response.
No problem. It seems my dog has been affected by the vibrations of the AI also over here, getting quite noisy. Firstly, Brian, let me say to you, you're absolutely correct. We can tell that there's something off about this. It's something I'm going to be exploring myself a little bit more, because I'm looking at it through the lens of something which is really ineffable. It's about the vibration that I get in my body. There's something in my body that says to me, this is not healing. This is not well received. My ear, as a trained musician, it's also quite startled because the intonation of the AI lacks the resonance, the sonority of what a natural tone would sound like, organically produced by an instrument which has been acoustically recorded. So That's where I can say that there are pros and cons to either one. One can see the merit for either argument. I'm not sure whether you ask me what my feeling is about whether the older things are better or just an observation in a general. I do agree with you. I've also observed that a trend with colleagues, especially people working in music technology, where they will say, well, you know, you just can't replace the old analog way of doing it. And then you've got a new generation saying this is so dated and lacking in the amount of innovative advancements with things being automated and without you having to do all of this labor is what we're looking for. And also because they've grown up in a society where that's what's natural, that's what's normal for them. You see it even with classical musicians, the idea that, oh no, I can't play it on an instrument that's just been built right now. If it's period music, it must be played on a period instrument. The classical world is very, very obsessed with that idea. My position, which I take, is to say that all music is music. So the fact that the ear is receiving the vibration, I gave a lecture to my students in my History 1 class just this past week. I think some of them may be in the room. And I was going through the concept about how do we distinguish between what's sound, what's noise, and what's music, and how does noise become music ultimately. And I gave them a demonstration of a wonderful musician, Björk, and a phenomenal artist, and how she was one of the folks in the late 90s, early 2000s, really experimenting with sampling sounds of noise and turning it into a music. But I will say all music is music, all technology is technology. So that's why I deliberately included that old BBC Pathé archive footage where it shows the harmonium that Benjamin Franklin invented in the late 18th century. How women were playing spinets and virgils and positive portable organs fueled by a bellows. All of it is technology. And so this is also technology. And my argument was to say, when you see new instruments, you also know that the new human has come. It's an upgrade in humanity, in the consciousness. So I want to use that quickly as an anchor to wrap up my response to you to say, depending on whether you like AI or not, whether it makes you feel strange the way it does to me or it doesn't affect you at all, whether you're going to be using it as a tool for your own studio, your own commodity, your own outputs, it's all got to do with consciousness. And so if your consciousness is forward thinking, is progressive, wants to be on top of everything, younger generations are often inclined to move in this direction because they understand that it's their commodity for career progression, to become masterful of what is in the world now. But the more mature you become, the more you start to think what comes after what you worked with is cheaper, is worn down, is nonsense. And so that's my point that I'm looking at this phenomenon through, is to say, what does it say about the consciousness of the human in terms of how they are relating to AI? So I'm going to leave it there because I can't say much more at this stage, but very profound observations from you. Will people 100 years from now think our era of AI was better? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think they will think that we were in our infant toddler stage of working with new technology ultimately, because things will sound perfectly normal. While it sounds strange to me and gives me that off vibration now, I believe that within the next 5 years, that won't be the case any longer. It will be able to reproduce an authentic sound, which makes me feel so deeply touched, what I call the musical affect. AI music is lacking musical affect at the moment. The idea that it really induces something within the human, which is stimulating, which is retained, which says, I want more. I don't think very many people, after listening to a whole bunch of AI, says, I want more, I must have more, I haven't had enough of this. And that is what Bach does to me. But I have tried Bach with AI, and it's so awful. It's fake music to the core. but a good mechanism for teaching students how to work with contrapuntal techniques, how to grasp what the complexity was of that sort of music and why AI is struggling. So I am in the camp a little bit, I must be honest, Brian, that says this is a bunch of nonsense going on right now. And because I love antiques so much and I love ancient knowledge and ancient history, I'm always just amazed at, look at what our ancestors were doing. And they will also look back on us and say, look at what they were doing. They were coming to a grips with something which was new in the world. Thanks, Brian.
Awesome. Thanks, Glenn. I see, Vunglele, you put a comment into the section there, into the chat box. Do you want to just verbalize that? And then if anyone else wants to ask a question, just use the hand signal and we'll allow you. But Vunglele,
sure.
I thought that's a really great comment.
Yeah. So let me just bring it up again so I can read it. So I was questioning this because we're feeling the same sort of pressure around the visual arts. Okay, so there are particularly with the progression of these really fantastic movies, which are the Marvel movies. I'm a Marvel fan myself. And there was a problem, for instance, I think it was with a series, I think it was called The Secret Wars, or I can't remember. And their entire title sequence, or title card, there's sort of openings of credits, were designed by AI, and people lost their minds. And you go online and you can see, you can get something that looks like an authentic painting. You can see these videos losing, these weird creatures that start twisting into all sorts of. I find those to be really exciting. The sort of a person morphing into all sorts of things, and I find that's very fascinating. But my comment was around these questions of authenticity. And I think that we struggle with this question of authenticity, especially with Brian's comment around, what is better music, and this sounds better, and, the clear crystal, and people are going out and buying vinyl just to hear the scratches again, because, there's that sense of like that authentic recorded sound. So I've actually put what is original, what is better, what is real, not as questions, but as statements, in some ways. And I want to reflect on how we sorry, Andrea knows I speak in curlicues. The idea that we see something that comes from us as the natural sound, we see it as the natural voice, we see it as the natural emissions of our genius and so forth. And yet we are doing very different things when it comes to nature, which is that we control nature. We restrain nature in certain ways. We create a game park so that you can drive through it and see creatures in their natural habitat, and so forth. So I'd like to kind of think about that sort of like we think that we can generate these beautiful genius things and wonderful concertos and so forth. And yet the lyrebird, this amazing creature in New Zealand, I think it is, has the power or this amazing ability to mimic. I think it's up to 400 different sounds, from alarms to the sound of a shutter of a camera, and it can sound like a person speaking in another tongue, And this is a bird that's learned how to do that. And I liken like that sort of mimicry of nature itself to take something that we have used and created, a camera, a car alarm, and so forth, to create our world that we live in. So I don't want to say that I agree completely with AI, but I also agree with what Glenn's saying, in that we have to transcend the space of these binary spaces of AI is bad and it's going to ruin us all, to the other space of like, no, we just need to accept it. It's going to kill us. We are it. My last sort of example to use is that I've been reading a comic called 2000 AD for years. And I don't know if anyone's come across 2000 AD, but 2000 AD has had since the 70s these sections in it called Future Shock. And what they do is they get these invited writers to tell stories about what they think the future is going to be, but they tell them in a very sort of really dark way. And many of them have had to do with how people consume media, music, art around them. And one of them was about this tribe that listened to a type of music, but it wasn't music. It was just like, they called them drummers. They had implants in their head, and all they listened to was this kind of like repetitive noise that kept them sort of nodding their heads the whole time. And what was interesting about that is that they used it to numb themselves from the cruel reality of the world they lived in. And I wonder, is AI not a reflection of our need to kind of like sink into a space of help me here, just a numbing in some ways, in the same way that pop bands in the 80s were kind of like chewing gum? We might be heading that way with AI. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bulindlela. I miss you so much, and always so wonderful to
I miss you too,
to engage with you and your profound way of thinking. You've mentioned a couple of things, but I'm going to start firstly because you spoke about nature and about authenticity. And as you were speaking through nature, I went through some of my notes because just earlier this week I wrote a quote that I came across somewhere, and it said, "Working in nature means working on nature's terms." And then I want to extend that now to the AI, to say working with AI means working on AI's terms. And that is where, for me, there's an important segue into what's going on here, and why we shouldn't become too alarmed by what the AI is doing with the creative arts, because AI will always work on AI's terms. We as a human, as a creative, as somebody who's imbued and endowed with attributes which are unique to us through the way that our pathology has developed, our worldview, our cultural immersion, what we find digests well with us artistically, sonically, visually, and also what our muses are, what it is that inspires us to want to bring and birth something into this world. That's what AI will never have. It's not its nature to do that. And so we should feel very, very proud of the fact that it is our nature as humans to be creative. And I think that humanity will always gravitate towards paying attention to what is being expressed by human nature. And then I'll come back to the latter point which you made about isn't this a sort of mirror of society at this time, trying to block out the noise and mute out what turbulent times we're living in this world, or just the nature of life, which has become so individualistic, attached to a phone, wanting to be stimulated all the time? I fully agree with you, and you use the beautiful word consume or consumption. I will say to you, the reason how did we get here? When I played that last video and I said, how did we get here as humanity and what does this mean? It means that we want to consume anything and everything. And us as a human species is not capable of saying that is enough. We as humanity have birthed enough richness, enough beautiful things in this world that we should just continue focusing on doing what we do best. But we are not satisfied with that. We want to consume more, and we want to consume the unknown. And very, very lastly, I'll say, because this is Andrea's seminar series, I can say it. I can't say it in any other academic symposia I'm a part of, because I'm always deemed a heretic and a controversial person. But I also put in the blurb, my little abstract for my talk, speaking about the interdimensional human and about non-human intelligence. At the moment, we are only concerned primarily with technology, which we have in the world about us right now. But we do know as a human species that a lot of technology is also being suppressed by big military corporations and governments across this world for fear of the fact that it might emancipate us also, and that we are just being beholden to what the system says it should be. So I'm sure there are other technologies which we are not even aware of in existence, which deals with visual stimulation and sonic stimulation. We know for a fact that sonic equipment is being used as weapons also. I'm not sure how true the Havana syndrome is, but very alarming, and I've been following it for a number of years. And that could extend to something much more toxic. That's where AI could become detrimental if it is weaponized, if it becomes used to generate frequencies which are harmful to the human body. But I also do believe that AI can do wonderful things such as healing. So that's why I am not saying I'm for or against it. I'm saying all of these things are real. And when you speak about the reality of certain aspects of the creative world, whether digital or generated and birthed through ideation and tangible hands-on approach through inputs from the human. I would say that all work that we are doing as a human species is to try to keep ourselves stimulated. That's why you want to watch the Marvel as opposed to going and watching something else, for example. I don't have too much more to say because it was such a complex question, but very thought-provoking, and I will have to dwell on it some more and chat to you more about it in the future.
Sure, thanks, Glenn.
Awesome. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Vulindlela. Musa, you had a question that you wanted to pose. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's good to see. I was very excited to see Mdludla, with whom I used to teach a long time ago. It's good to be here. And thank you, Prof. Holtzman, for a beautiful presentation. But quickly, you make 2 points on the intro. One, the state of music, and its humanistic, the state of music as a humanistic and spiritual medium, and you also speak about the human discernment, aspect about it. I'm of the view that human beings are naturally a very progressive creatures. You use something today and you use it a few times. After that, you want to imagine how better you can use it or what else you can. So naturally, we are a progressive and imaginative creatures. Yet we also have within ourselves a natural weariness to any form of change that seems to shift us from where we are used to be. So I find that these two things play a kind of a balancing role. So if I want to bring that concept into the discussion today, here we are, and I think we seem sometimes to even sound like AI is something foreign that has not been brought by humans onto humans, when in fact AI is another expression of how imaginative and progressive humans are, because all forms of robotics, all forms of these are driven by humans, and it's in our nature to be like that. However, it then gets a bit worrying and a bit dangerous, perhaps, when it falls into the hands of those that will use it then for their other agendas. And as you correctly mentioned, that some forms of technology, and there could be a reality of the fact that there are other forms, much more serious forms of AI development that we don't even know about, because then they would have fallen into the hands, that are driven by other sinister motives. But when it comes to music, I'm of the view that let's embrace what we seem to be getting, and of course, as we correctly imagine, in 50
Musa, we are starting to lose you. 30, I have to interrupt here.
Possibly 50 years to come, they'll be looking at what we were doing today and wondering, did humans...
Musa, you have to close your comment because your bandwidth is too low.
But yes. I think my point has been made, really, that we are progressive, yet we are weary. And
yes. Let's leave it there, Musa. Thank you so much for your input. We are weary. Of course, why are we weary? Because as a human species, we do have this primal drive of fear within us. And for people who are concerned about what's happening with what they are doing for bringing bread onto the table, this is quite alarming. So that's all I would say to you about this. But I have taken note of what you've said. Am I still with colleagues? Yes, I am. Okay, it's just Musa who's frozen on my screen. I thought that maybe my computer was frozen. It's very, very difficult to engage after that. But I have listened to what you've said, and you are correct. We are a progressive species. This is why we have shifted to this point of working with computers to generate music when we started off blowing into bones, which we had eaten, you see? So that's how music starts with humanity. It's the recognition that you can create tones with the natural environment. But we are now, in my opinion, I've just had this conviction myself personally that we as humanity are becoming increasingly denaturalized. Coming back to that word of what Vulindlela used, nature. What is our nature as humans? And I can see that on the horizon of 2055, we might either have wanting to turn, a turning point in humanity, say, let's go back to our nature as humans, not as humans living with machines. But I don't foresee that happening because, as Busa makes the point, we are progressive. What will machines evolve into?
Awesome. Thanks, Glenn. All right, everyone, we needing to just come to a close, and Andrew just wants to say a couple of things before we do. I just wanted to point out a few things from my side. We were talking about what is nature, and I was just thinking that, a guitar, a simple thing like a guitar isn't a natural thing. It's something that we've created to sort of amplify our own authenticity. And so these questions of what is authentic, what is human, come through very strongly. So, Glenn, I agree with you. In 2055, the music that you will hear AI generated, it will have learned about to fine-tune itself to your ear. Because I can't tell the difference in terms of that thing, and I found that Harry Potter one extremely entertaining. So
Yes.
I would consume that.
But it's because we have a point of intersectionality with it that we can watch it for so long.
Yes,
you see that?
yes.
And because you've got some idea of what the Harry Potter story is being parodied. It's a reggae vibe, which itself is kind of laid back. My opinion is also that at the present moment, I find AI music, which is clean, which is simple, more tolerable than when it tries to be complex. And I have been using artificially generated music for years for meditation. So it does have wonderful properties attached to it. And there are people making millions on YouTube by uploading channels for meditative music, which has been generated by AI. They don't have to ascribe the rights to anybody, but because people are clicking on it to fall asleep at night, they are getting millions of views just on 432 hertz streaming with 5 chord changes throughout for 10 hours. You see that? The AI has helped, and there are videos telling people how to make meditative music on YouTube, to launch your own channel, to generate an income. And there will be people clicking on it. I am clicking on at least maybe 10 to 12 meditative links throughout the day. Want to take a break, want to clear my mind, go to binaural beats, select your desired frequency. Lastly, because we're running out of time and I don't want to cut you off, you can continue in a minute, Gary, but is to say by 2055, that's why I like that Alex has said we love the heretics. By 2055, we will not only be concerned with machines, but interdimensional and interplanetary phenomena. And by then, what our conceptualization of music is might have been shifted so dramatically if we were to engage with the species from another place or space in our galaxy or star system, or maybe even not interplanetary. But as I'm saying, if you are, as I am, concerned with also parapsychology, if you are listening and paying attention to what's happening with people speaking, not only in parapsychology, but in the quantum physics fields also, with how reality is generated. I do believe that the aliens are coming soon, and they're going to bring us fantastic instruments and new music. Let's leave it there.
Fantastic. Thanks, Glenn. Andrea, do you want to just chip in here? And then we can close.
Okay, I don't want to just leave it there. I think it's fabulously interesting, but also, Glenn, so AI can probably do everything that we can possibly do with music. AI will be able to do for us. Same with language and writing, academics, thinking, and probably art in the end. I'm not sure about that, but that means that we are going to have to up our game. We'll have to be different humans, do more creative, more, and that makes life so much harder for everybody, because all the stuff that we can get credit for, give ourselves credit for now, AI can do. So we can't take credit for it anymore. So we're just going to have to be different, or maybe, I don't know, maybe this is the step towards an evolutionary leap in humans. Anyway,
Yes, you are 100% correct, Andrea, because we don't want AI to be as obsessed with mimicking our own creative ability. I want AI, and I read this comment online, so it's not my own, but to say we want AI to do our chores, to do our labor, so that we as humans have more time to be creative.
Yes, but AI is not going to do that. It's taking the creative stuff too, so we're going to have to be even more creative. Maybe we should become little chore slaves and let AI do all the creative stuff.
Never.
Maybe AI will do a better job of managing our world for us. And we'll just be the little slaves and the little grunts and the little gimps, and, you know, I'm teasing. Glenn, thank you. Yeah, it was a very Black Mirror-ish presentation, but thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Andrea.
Okay, I think we have kind of run out of time. Can I wrap up, Gary? Am I okay to do that?
Yeah, I think so, Andrew. Go for it.
All right. Okay, just quickly, that we will continue this conversation, I'm hoping, and I think we will next week. Next week, Brian Castellani is going to chat to us about art, something that he calls fugitive vestiges. And this will be traces of people in place. So I think it will be complex and interesting, and probably continue this discussion about what it is that's facing us in 2055. It's actually quite exciting and quite scary, and hard to say, hard to actually vocalize what is facing us. But Glenn, thank you for triggering a very kind of I don't know, thought-provoking and actually fascinating presentation. So yes, thank you everybody, and have a great weekend.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrea. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks everyone for coming through. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.